Here it should be live up next. Let me get the wish list up. I think we're live everywhere. All right, we're live everywhere. All platforms are up. Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. Thought I would sit down, do a current events and a Q&A for you lovely people. I'm going to sip on my milk. Maybe rotating this out in a couple days and just avoid liquid calories. Get a little more solid food. I want to get a little more healthy fats in place of that. But I digress. Over to the point. The Trump situation. I did a little short on this, and I'm just going to keep up with these current events. And people can argue all they want. No, this is about drugs. It's absolutely about drugs. And we're not saying oil with any of this stuff is not a factor in Venezuela and other geopolitics and other things. Those are obviously factors. Like anyone's stupid if they don't realize that. But it doesn't remove the situation with the drugs. And I think the point that gets brought up when it comes to the flow of drugs into the U.S. Is that no one's ever actually tried. And we do need to be clear on this. I've been saying this for over 20 years. Our government never actually tried. It was a fake war. Now you're actually seeing a president say, no, let's actually do this for real, which we need to. Right? How many of our problems in the U.S. would go away if the illegal drugs were shut down? What happened to our crime, our poverty, our unemployment, our welfare? Most of this stuff would go away. And that's kind of a point I've made with that. Like nobody would care about there being people on welfare if all the drug addicts couldn't be addicts anymore. You know, and I think with this too, what people forget, they're like, oh, just because the supply goes away doesn't mean that the demand will go away. When addicts are weaned off long enough, they no longer need cocaine and meth and heroin and stuff. Okay. And it absolutely can be shut down. People are crazy. You know, you'll get these comments that, well, just because they killed off 90% of the cartel doesn't mean more people won't replace them when you kill them too. Like this is not a difficult concept, and this is what people are not grasping. And these are people who have to physically get this stuff into the U.S. Like, it's not like they're all the way across the world. No. It's not like digging into Afghanistan. This stuff's all local. There's supply chains. People will quit doing it when it's shut down hard. And it doesn't matter. So what? They're like, well, you won't stop all of it. Do we have to? That's like saying you won't stop all murder. Sure, but you can cut down on it. You won't stop all drunk driving. Well, you could throw everybody in prison who does it. Just because you can't completely end something doesn't mean that you just let it go like we've done. People seem to struggle with these concepts of absolutism. They're like, if you can't stop all of it, there's no point in stopping any of it. And I think the people who write that, here's what's really coming out. They're drug addicts. That's why they say that. Very straightforward. They're junkies. That's why they get on the internet and say that. Luke, I can totally see your comments. Right? Okay, awesome. Is that the old or the new? Okay, is that the one that had seemed to be blocked? Because I didn't unblock anybody. It might have been a glitch. So all good, man. But yeah, so Trump has issued ultimatums, you know, and that's the point I've made. It could have been flagged. It could have been a glitch. YouTube has problems. Don't even get me started on that. But I think the point people are missing with the situation with this cartel thing is he's essentially telling the Mexican government, you do something about it or I will. All right. All right, you guys know the rules. If you don't want to get banned on my channel, don't come into my live stream. If you notice, it's a free-for-all in the comments. This is not difficult. You can say whatever you want about me in the comments. Notice I don't ban there. Come into my live streams, you get banned. So then you lose your ability to post. Is it worth it? Yeah, I have lots of things about Trump I really dislike, but for years I was baffled by not calling Mexican cartels terrorists because they aren't Middle Eastern, Central Asian, right? But now we're doing it. Um, and here's my thing. Whatever personal issues I have with Trump, I've come to realize my own philosophy for politics has inherently been flawed. It's not pragmatic. It's not workable. It's thinking like an intelligent, critical thinker instead of being solutions based. Critical thinker wants to take every issue down the road, a whole platform, and pick it apart issue by issue by issue. Put deep thought into each one, weigh each thing out, right? Which I have done for years and years and years. Because this is what generally intelligent people do. Can you fix problems that way? No, you can't solve anything that way. It's not practical. It's intelligent, but it's not practical. Right. But infinite terms are a major threat, and quick problem solving is risky but needed. That's a problem of four-year terms. So essentially, what you have to have is a coherent ideology, meaning you can't pick and choose. Like if you come up with a solution, let's say we come up with a solution to welfare in the United States. Let's say we come up with a solution for our poverty problems and the need for welfare. Can you pick one solution, or do you need to address 5 different points and all 5 have to be fixed? In other words, you work in the medical field. If you have a course of treatment and you say, okay, these are the 5 things that we have to do to deal with this disease, can you pick 3 of them and ignore the other 2 and do the opposite because they just seem like a good idea on a case-by-case basis? Will that fix the problem, or is your patient going to die? Because we need these 5 medications or entire protocols to work together synergistically. Marco says, how do I know if I'm better off using squat shoes or flat shoes for squatting? When in doubt, use flat. So this is an easy one. This is a very easy one. You ready? Do you know for a fact you need squat shoes? Like, are you sure? Then don't use squat shoes, use flats. So if you have to ask the question, the answer is obviously flats because you're not convinced and you don't know for a fact you would be better off with squat shoes for your personal situation. Then flats are going to be the better choice. Squat shoes are not necessarily ideal. And they do create knee problems in some lifters. So if you're not sure you're going to benefit from them, I mean, I squat barefooted. I also don't have knee pain or hip pain or anything else. And you see the workloads I do. I'm literally doing 10 rep sets every workout with 405. But back to that point with solutions, you have to have a coherent ideology that fixes a problem through a multi-step and multifaceted process. It can't be, well, we have to weigh out each case by case part of it. No, it has to be done in its totality. You know? And it's the same when we're dealing with something like this. So if we step back and say, okay, we want to deal with these problems, right? Then what do we have to do? We have to deal with the addiction end. We have to deal with the flow of illegal immigrants. So when we're looking at an economic system to fix our poverty and our welfare and our unemployment, we have to have a cohesive model. That means we have to win the war on drugs. That means we have to shut down the border. That means that we have to get largely the people who are undocumented out. We have to stop the flow of drugs. And we have to build up those poverty-ridden communities. So it has to be a multi-step process. And if we did those things, the United States would be a paradise again. It's a neat analogy. If the U.S. or world is suffering, will 1 week of inactivity lead to the death of society? No, but 1 week of inactivity in the ICU usually the death of a patient. Yes. But the same quickness of action is needed in both cases, just more evident with a single patient. But we're dealing with a disease that needs to be cured. Let's say we count true poverty. Well, what's the number one cause of poverty in a country like the United States? We're not talking about the outliers. We don't care about outliers. Like if 95% of our people on welfare no longer need welfare, do we care if there's 5% left? No, we just pay it because it's not that big of a deal. See what I mean? You see where we're going? No one cares about spending the money if we get rid of 95% of what exists. Yeah, there's going to be exceptions. Drug addiction. Exactly, Luke. People growing up around and surrounded by drug addiction, the consequences of drug addiction. Alcoholism and drugs. But let's come back over to the latter. What causes systemic poverty? What is the root cause of systemic poverty? If you say white supremacy, I'm going to ban the holy shit out of you, by the way. Because there's poor white people too. So, what's the root cause of no dads? Alcoholism and drugs. If you wipe out all the cartels and all the dealers right up on, you use the military to hit them, you take the ones in the US and you give them capital punishment and make it very public knowledge, no exceptions. How quick does the drug problem go away? Real fast. There'll be more people to replace them. There's more bullets to deal with them. It won't take that many replacements before guys are going, man, they wipe out every single cartel. They just keep wiping us out. We should go grow corn or something. See how easy that is? So if the addiction is gone, we deal with all this stuff. Do we have a poverty problem and a welfare problem? So then we focus back on the idea of the importance of the nuclear family, fathers in the home. You cut out the drugs, the alcohol. And people say, well, what about jobs? No. You don't need illegal immigrants for cheap jobs. Shut the border down. When the addiction is gone, all the addicts who don't work and need welfare do the jobs. Then we have economic prosperity. So this is why we say it's a multifaceted plan. And if you don't have a multifaceted solution and you're going, well, we need to look at each individual. No. We have if you have a platform, this is how we fix it. You have to follow through with all of it. So if that means that all the drug dealers have to die, they all have to die. That means the border has to be shut down. You have to shut down the border. If we need to work on the value and importance of the nuclear family and fathers in the home, these things all have to be done. And you can't do that picking and choosing issues. You have to have a course of solution. These are our 5 points. We have to complete all of them, not 3, not 4, not 4.5, but 5. Therefore, you have to be fully behind leadership. It can't be I pick and choose and be critical of the different stuff. Luke's got a point. If USA were my patient, I would see China as a slowly spreading disease. Absolutely. Allowing them to gain majority ownership via stock purchases of major corporations, cultural war, their impact on our institutions of learning. Do we not understand a lot of the far left ideology that is being pushed into our universities is coming from China's propaganda? Do you think they want this? Like this stuff you're seeing, these crazy, insane leftists, like the one who got herself legally and rightfully popped? Where do you think that originated? Who do you think's got a vested interest in seeing that? China loves it. It's great for us. Literal Hollywood films are censored in China, and you can't depict China in a certain way in order to cater to their relations, right? Absolutely. The same thing when we're talking about imperialism. Well, those days are done, guys. The whole world is going to be imperialist. China's ahead of us already. The idea that there's going to be small independent nation states is not going to happen any longer. Hey, Tony, you aren't wrong, but sure, they'll remain addicts. But if they don't have the drugs, the other stuff will be dealt with, meaning it'll be far less addictive to get rid of the drugs and alcohol. Is it normal to feel this knee instability when squatting during no other exercises? No, Connor. I can't diagnose it through a live stream, but no, that's not normal. There's definitely a weakness that needs to be addressed. And Luke, exactly. We've stood back and allowed China to do that. What do you mean the primary mover? There's 3 primary movers. Lats, pecs, triceps. What's up, Coach? Looking forward to another week of training coming up. Let's go. Absolutely, man. Appreciate it. What are you trying to link, Bobby? If you're linking a bunch of trash, then we'll have to sort this. Oh, the thing with the cartels. Yeah. All right. Nico says, it's coming very suddenly out of nowhere. I'll see a specialist before it becomes an injury, right? I mean, I don't know what's causing it. That's a lot to diagnose without a lot of one-on-one consultation. Connor, would probably be advisable to see a doctor look into it. You may need, yeah, that might be. Tony says, I enjoy the global strategic perspective you bring to the table. Absolutely. Any benefits of supersetting squats and pullovers if you're going to do one set of squats, but you're not going to do a set of pullovers and go do more squats afterwards. It's going to be pointless because you're not going to have normal performance on the squat. You're going to be limited. I don't want to issue thoughts on Nick Fuentes yet. I've only slightly investigated, and I very much disliked what I heard initially. I did check a little bit of his stuff out, and I'm not necessarily hip to all of it, but I do feel like he has been a bit misrepresented. But I don't know enough about him to form a true opinion. Make sense? But I will say he has mastered the art of when someone says, well, you're a racist, fine, I'm a racist. So let's go on to the real topics. I think that's the best way everyone should approach that, by the way. If someone calls you a racist, just say, okay, fine, I'm a racist. So can we get over to the real topic now? Let's get that out of the way, and let's get over to the topic and the statistics and the non-emotional response. He definitely does some trolling. So I don't know. There's too much for me to unpack to form a real opinion. Let me just be honest. There's too much to unpack for me to give an honest assessment of him. I'm a long way from being able to do that. Is that fair? To everyone, the people who love him and hate him both, I feel like I don't have enough information to form an honest opinion on him that is intellectually honest and fair. Is that reasonable? I don't have enough data to make an informed, intelligent opinion of him. Jordan Peterson is an absolute hypocrite. All right. I don't like Jordan Peterson, by the way. My minimal exposure to him is that he could seem intelligent, but I largely disagree with him the same. Right. I mean, that's the thing. I don't necessarily agree with everything he said at all. I agree with some of it. But he absolutely is intelligent. I'll give him that. He's rational. He communicates well. There's that, but rage bait is a lot of what the world operates on today. You don't see me putting up rage bait on my Facebook to some extent. All right. But that is the way the world has gone on the internet. It's just the nature of it. I don't know that I do true rage bait. I'm giving honest opinions and literally memeing the hell out of stuff. Right. I guess that difference between true memeing versus rage baiting are not quite the same. You know? Yeah, true. It's just yeah, it's not like I'm misrepresenting my politics. I just took the filter off. And I've just kind of gone all in. Here's my thing with that. I've watched it's pushed me really far into an ideology. I feel like the antics of the other side have basically pushed me into a situation to where I see them as just pure evil and I have no option but to stand against them. I'm not keeping anything private anymore. I'm just putting it out there. I don't even care. Like that's what I've realized. But that's the thing too. It's getting me a lot of hate, and it's getting me a lot of love too. And I think people like authenticity. When they realize that a bunch of the followers who were giving me tons of support, I just took the filter off, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to speak my mind, and I don't care if I lose followers and people hate me for it. I'm just simply going to say what I'm going to say. I'm going to state my mind. I'm going to laugh at stuff. I'm going to make comedy and memes and troll the hell out of a lot of it. I'm just going to put it out there, but I'm just going to be authentic. And there's always going to be a certain number of people who appreciate that and love you for it. And I think that's the point. Things seem the U.S. is very divided, and it's not doing it. And again, it has to do, the U.S. wasn't this divided. It is literally the far left. People are like, oh, we got to find middle ground. We have to work together. We can't. The far left went so apeshit nuts, so crazy that there is no middle ground to be had. They created that scenario. And as far as I'm concerned, they have outed themselves as pure evil. They have to simply be done away with one way or another. And hey, if they want to do it through their own hand, like that woman at that thing, because that is perfectly legal. That was a moral, legal, hands down, no problem. Let me be clear. You or I as citizens could have popped her at that point. He showed great restraint, but that's because he's a highly trained agent. He stopped at 3 shots. I wouldn't have. And it still would have been acceptable. But we have to be clear on that. What's legal, though, for him as an officer in that situation is to keep popping her down the street. I can't do that. He didn't do that either, but he legally can because of the specifics of the statutes involved with that. As a civilian, you cannot. But the way it went down, as a civilian, I could have popped 10 rounds through that windshield instead of 3 and been okay. In other words, don't bump me with your car, bro. But you're right, Luke. I feel like being authentic means for most people, not everyone's going to like you, but you'll find the people who relate, and that's the way it works. Right. It seems to me like in some ways the right was more divisive in my lifetime a long time ago. But over the past dozen or so years, the left is they're driving all division. And they're pushing more people into the right. Like, let me be clear. I know people who voted for, so everyone's like, oh, no one approves of Trump. Yet he won. They kept saying that all the way through the election. He won the popular vote. Why? I know people who voted for Obama who voted for Trump. Let me state that. I know people who are like, I was a liberal 15 years ago. I voted for Obama twice, and I still identify as a classic liberal. They're like, but the left says that I'm a racist, Nazi, white supremacist, Klan member, and they're not even white. They're like mixed. So, because as a classic liberal, I am automatically a Nazi. So they had to vote for Trump by default because the other side's screaming that they're a Nazi for being a classic liberal who voted for Obama. They've driven all the divisiveness and they're pushing everyone. I think he was robbed, and I think there's emerging data. I'll just say it straight up. I personally believe that the election was stolen last time, and I think they tried to do it again. I think they almost did, but I think the popular vote was so overwhelming that it overdid the cheat. Connor says, I feel political homelessness in terms of my politics. When someone out of the U.S. and their politics, I saw officer get hit by the car before he shot the gun down. Right. And that's open and closed, Connor. Like, that's not even there's no way he goes to jail for that. And Trump will pardon him anyways. They can see the footage. Their lawyers know what he did is perfectly legal and within policy. Like, it's the fact that she bumped with the car, it's done. They have nothing on the other side. It's game over. You can remove everything else around the situation, remove the fact that she was a domestic terrorist. You can remove everything. She intentionally bumped him with the car. That's a death sentence. You just offed yourself on purpose at that point. The only reason you would ever carrying a gun with your car is because your intention was to die. Or you're too crazy to not know that you're going to die right there. You're just too crazy to know that you ended your own life. And she might have been too crazy. Connor says, so the far left wing is why American politics have become tribal. Absolutely. It wasn't like that before. Do you think the first shot from the front was deadly? I don't have autopsy results. I can tell you what he hit her with based upon what is issued to that agency and their ammo selections. But to say it was automatically deadly, we don't know. I mean, obviously one of the three or the accumulation of them was. Now, I guarantee you what he used was a Glock 19 Gen 5 MOS. He almost guaranteed either had Winchester Ranger T or Federal HST in it. It could have been Spear Gold Dot, but more likely the other two. Luke says, there are plenty of things I won't change in Canada, but I'm very glad the spot I live, though the left is it's pretty tame and peaceful here. Fair. But we don't know that the first shot of it was fatal or not. It might have been. Normally, we would say, well, hollow points through auto glass, but this is modern defensive law enforcement ammunition. And if you recall, Alan, go watch my review on the old gun channel, if it still can be found anywhere. With my 32-page FBI ballistics report of that stuff, I made $2,500 in ad revenue and thousands of positive comments in that video. All modern carry ammo has to be tested through its ability to retain stopping power through auto glass. Meaning it still has to, after going through auto glass, still pass the FBI's ballistic standards. Like that's kind of in the criteria. If Canada federally had Texas state gun laws and our housing market was fixed, it would be amazing, right? There we go. Old Texas gun laws. All of our weapon laws are just guns. Do you want the whole deal or just the pew-pews? Because we can carry swords. Bowie knives are specifically listed, but the swords are also. But Bowie knives are listed specifically. And I quote, due to cultural preservation, because of the Texas history with the Bowie knife. All right. Would you say there will be a resurgence of moderates in the U.S. as time progresses? Maybe. But those moderates are going to have to come from the far left. The far left is going to push until they get themselves basically offed. Like, I'm not going to go into a lot of details, but they're about to get really stupid and just with the way they're going to fully legally justify the National Guard just start popping them. If they continue to do what they're doing, that is what's going to happen. And if they keep ramping the rhetoric up, that's exactly what you're about to see. And it may get to the point of where these Antifa and Black Lives Matter riots just get airstrikes called in. I would have already done it. But that's me. I'm not God Emperor of mankind. I would have just hit them with an airstrike. Just be done with the whole damn thing. Because that's not political protest. They're in the neighborhoods burning and looting. No, you get rid of them. Political protest, that is not what a political protest is. What they're doing with the ICE agents is not what we call, that's not free speech either. Free speech means you go organize a protest and you sit outside the courthouses or the legislature buildings and you protest and you hold your signs and you sign your petitions and you air your grievances. You start going into people's private property, bro, you just need it. You need a bullet. That's no longer political protest. You come in my yard, no. You think Trump will escalate a war with NATO over Greenland? Denmark is refusing. So here's the problem. So here's the question that NATO needs to really weigh out. Who do they want to fight? They want to fight the U.S. or they want to fight Russia? Because somebody's taking Greenland. Let me be very, very clear. There is 100% chance Greenland is being seized. It is only a matter of who does it and when, not if. There is no scenario where Denmark holds Greenland. Yeah, the Black Lives Matter different stories. Black Lives Matter is also the name of an organization, a domestic terrorist anarchy organization. Absolutely. They exploited a catchphrase. I mean, look at what they made as a martyr. George Floyd. Chad simply in this state, it is able to always find a way to prosecute. I fear he'll be found guilty for sure just based on the lunatic political climate in the state. It's a harassment and stalking of federal agents and law enforcement. So, Chad, I see where you're going. However, given the position that the current administration and J.D. Vance has, what happens if Trump simply issues him a pardon? And Governor Walz there is about to be in a lot of trouble over all this other stuff. I mean, the stuff with the sanctuary cities and the other stuff with the scandals, he needs to be in prison. But given the situation, Trump has the right to pardon him, and he's got all the justification. Has Russia expressed interest or too busy bleeding resources in Ukraine? One of them will take it. If Russia took Greenland, that's World War III due to NATO. Russia would be a risk. And you also have to consider China. But somebody is going to take Greenland, and that's the point Trump is making. Denmark does not have the resources to hold such a vital point. So, and I would argue, and I know this is going to be unpopular, given the strategic risk of Russia or China getting it. Okay, are you ready? Even though I think we benefit from NATO, if it comes down to us keeping NATO versus China or Russia getting Greenland, that's an easy choice. NATO's got to go. If we're forced to pick between dissolving NATO or Russia or China getting Greenland, we have to dissolve NATO. It's the lesser of evils. You know, But if Canada took Greenland to avoid conflict between NATO, that might be viable. I don't know if Trump will buy off on it, but Canada could possibly have the resources to hold it. But do they want to? Like Russia could threaten nukes if the USA supported Ukraine, but won't actually deploy them in theory, man. But do you think Putin, as a last resort, would end everything? I don't know if he would or not. I really don't know. Yeah, I don't buy into that level of conspiracy theory personally, Connor. But ultimately, again, a lot happening with the Greenland thing. Can a federal pardon? I believe that it can, Chad. Let me check. Says, okay, the president can, but I think he would still protect him. All right. So, Connor, you realize those are not really fully connected agencies. Like, they often get in each other's way. You may not be aware of that. They butt heads a lot. I would have liked, so lumping them into the same category is not an educated thing to say. It means you don't know a lot about those two organizations. They get in each other's way a lot. They have conflicts. I would like if Canada took Greenland with great relations with USA, but I don't see that working right now. And Denmark wouldn't hand it over to Canada unless they were pushing to no choice. Right, and there's the problem. Keep in mind though, the president can basically tell the state, no, you're not extraditing him back to your state also. And as it stands, they don't have grounds for charges. Like it's so clear-cut self-defense legally that it just would be ludicrous to try. But the Justice Department can refuse an extradition also in spite of the charges. So if he's left the state of Minnesota already, and the Justice Department, through executive order, says that they're not going to allow him to be extradited for trial back to Minnesota, that's kind of the end of it. I suppose they could try to keep an open warrant. Oh, I'm not sure either. Check my message about not being sold that NATO would uniformly attack Russia if they took Greenland. I don't know that they would either. Yeah, NATO is definitely just a threat deterrent. All of NATO wouldn't declare. Does all of NATO really want to go to war with Russia, particularly over an island with 50,000 people on it? Dude, the population of Greenland is smaller than my little mini city I live in outside of Houston. That's like nobody. There's like 100,000 people in my tiny little town on the outskirts of Houston. So, right. Jason, I forgot in the chat, took me a few minutes of the ads to get here. When Executive Trump goes super badass mode, he's always meant business, but lately he's just gone with it. Why not? He's in the first year of his second term. He's going to enact changes, and he needs to set the stage for a safer, better country. What are they going to do? Try to impeach him? They're going to impeach him again? So he has nothing to lose. He's got 3 years left to hammer punch everything, unless he's going to get an amendment pushed to stay in longer. He's going to push massive changes, fix stuff. He's going to set Vance up for the presidency. And when America's better, and again, people can talk about polls. Well, Americans are unhappy all they want, right? Yeah, they said that all the way walking into him winning both elections that he won. That they're wrong. Number two, he has enough time to sort this Epstein thing. And that's been the most brilliant move on his part. It's cost him public opinion. But in the end, anyone who has an IQ higher than 85. So if you're not functioning at borderline mentally retarded, you already know there's nothing in those files to indicate him. This is common sense. Anyone who's not borderline mentally handicapped, and I'm not trying to be mean, I'm saying this is not hyperbole. I really do mean that. Only people who are below average intelligence or who have serious Trump derangement syndrome actually believe there's anything in there against him. Common sense. You think Trump should block midterm elections? Does he have any valid grounds to block midterm elections? And do you really think they're going to vote the Republicans out at this point? Given that we had a heck of a red wave this last time and the left is acting crazier. Keep in mind, it's only in these little cities, these pockets of extreme liberalism where they have support. 95% of the map is red. They're just ramping up their rhetoric and getting crazier and crazier. And yeah, we see a lot of international liberals are chiming in all over social media, but like half the people who are angry at me on my opinion don't live in the United States. They're all Canadians. Almost every person pissed at me about my stuff on this shooting, for example, they're all Canadians. They can't vote here. They don't have any say. Oh no, a bunch of people in Ontario are upset at my opinion. Well, you can't even vote in my country. Stop. People who don't understand use of force in the United States or guns are going to have a different viewpoint. But we all grew up here. How much step per abs? I don't know. How much step per abs? I don't know. I do like 3 a week. Yeah, it's out of reach for now, Luke, as far as anything with Greenland. I mean, it does make sense. I'm not saying it doesn't make sense because it's a fairly logical strategy. Get out of here. I don't actually live with anybody. I literally live alone. Get out of here. Wow, talk about being caught up in propaganda. I literally live alone. You've seen a tour of my house. It's very obvious. No one else is staying here. Cuckoo. All right. I didn't say the state more. They may react individually depending on. So, okay, but I don't understand what you mean by acting individually. Like, could you actually give me because I'm not a big conspiracy theorist guy. I think most of it's bullshit. So when you say that, I don't know what you're actually saying. The apparatus would do what exactly? I'm not being mean, Connor. I literally don't understand. Like, I literally don't know what you mean by react. I saw that liberal Canadian woman try to hate on you. President Trump definitely watches the content. I don't know about that. If he did, he should give me a shout out. Steve said, I saw that liberal Canadian woman try to hate on you for a typo. It's like, who cares, right? Plus, you can't even vote in your country. Your reply schooled her, right? Leaving some typos in is great for engagement. That's actually great engagement bait. A single typo or misspelling is worth an extra $1, right? Just because of the number of people who are going to have to comment on it. So strategically placed mistakes, particularly if they're clever. How about weather when we're talking about ice? You got to play 3D chess. Misspelling names is beautiful. Oh my God. Hell, you could pay your bills off misspelling names on the internet alone. You could pay your house note. Found a video of you working out. Man, that was a lifetime ago. Yeah, I did that for a few months when I was living in the UK. That was probably around 2012 or so, I guess, about 2012. Because it wasn't long, because once I switched over to a house, I moved everything to the little shed outside. So it's probably late in 2012. The blue are atrophying and consuming themselves, right? But again, look at who they want to make heroes, just like they took George Floyd to make a hero and a martyr out of. Guy was a drug addict on fentanyl who, and I'm not saying people should have stepped on his neck, right? That's not what I'm saying. But he was a piece of crap. Right. You can judge them by who they make martyrs out of. The guy was a drug addict and high on fentanyl. He had previously gone to prison for robbing a black woman at gunpoint with a pregnant belly and holding the gun to her belly while robbing her. That's their heroes. That's who they martyr. That's their hero. That's the hero of their movement. This tells us everything we need to know about them. That's your hero. Well, I think anyone who thinks that he's a hero probably needs to just be done away with. Maybe they need to be the next to go, because they're obviously pieces of shit. If they don't look at him and go, wow, what a piece of filth. What a horrific, evil piece of filth. If they have any response other than that to who he was and what he did, doesn't mean I think the police handled it right. But that tells us everything. So then what do we know about this woman? Unconfirmed, by the way, there's this, I did look into it. So far, that rap sheet appears to be fake. What was that thing you had on the power rack there with yellow straps? Safety straps. I just bought regular rigging. I used to work in the natural gas industry, so I'm very familiar with rigging. I just bought normal industrial rigging and stuff and made safeties out of a lot of it at different times. So what do we know about her? Well, we know that she's got 3 kids. 2 of them have custody by their father. There's unsubstantiated allegations of abuse and neglect, unsubstantiated. But in America, how often does the husband get custody of the children? Alan, why do you guys troll me with that? I take that as a troll question. So whenever someone asks me to become a police officer or IJation or join the military, I automatically assume you're a troll. Just FYI. There's no other way I could possibly interpret this. You do know that, right? I'm a 49-year-old man with a business that pays me professions already. So I just assume you're trolling me. Okay. So where were we? So you take this woman. We know that she's a bulldoggle, living with a woman. She's an award-winning poet who wrote her poem is called something like Dissecting Pig Fetuses. blue hair, nose rings. Normally, you are a good poster. Yeah, that's not how it works, Alan. There's why would you think I would be a good police officer? Think that through for a minute. Where you give me a badge, there's going to be a pile of dead cartel members. That's not what you really want. So, you're going to give me the authority to do that? I'm not real chill with certain things. Oh, you're going to let me arrest a pedophile and think I'm not going to smoke him? I'm probably not the right person for that. I don't have the temperament to arrest a pedophile and put him in the car. I'm going to go ahead and just go to jail at that point. I've got him in cuffs and I know that he molested a child. Oops. I had an accidental discharge. It just went off in his nuts. So I'm probably not who you want in that position. Just going to throw that out there. I think you're sitting down enough and getting older for that. Yeah. Yeah, again, that's not how it works. Like they always do the stuff of the military. I'm not allowed to join the military. True, if it was a SIG, they'll buy it. Right? So the whole law needs to be rewritten for Jason Blaha to join the military. That's what you guys are saying when you make those statements. We want the entire law rewritten so that Jason Blaha can specifically enlist for a pay cut. Why would you ask me something so stupid? Running for the... Do you know where I live? Bro, I don't got time to go drive 16 hours to get to the border. I'm just banning you. Where to buy safety straps? Amazon, Granger, Industrial Supply. I mean, anything that sells industrial equipment. For a conventional career, Jason is getting to as close to his late years towards retirement. Yeah, it's just silly. Yeah, exactly. It's silly. I mean, are we assuming after I've won the lottery? So explain these scenarios where it makes sense for me business wise. So I've won a $10 million lottery. Is this the scenario? They don't make that much money, dude. Hey, Truck, I don't understand. You're asking me questions about multiple different racks. I've messed with different safety rigging at different times. Are you asking me specifically what my thought process in various years as to why I wanted to mess with slings instead of my pin? I don't know. I just wanted to experiment with different safety riggings and doubling up on safety sometimes. Sorry, PS5, you're dissing my president in my live stream. You're banned from my channel. I told you that the other day. You know the rules. All right. I think when people imagine what they want in the world, they often overlook the logistics and rationality, the overall consequences and precedents. Right. And that's cool because I keep enough of my life private. Let me just be very clear. I would not be happy with the pay of any of those careers. Right. Right. Good point, Alan. All right. And then, so you're saying the agency would operate illegally? I think you have the wrong agencies. You do realize the agency you listed is not allowed by law to conduct operations inside the United States. You know, I think you have them confused with the NSA. I used a track catch bar with the second time. I did 13 reps and 4 plates, one with 5 and failed on 6 plates, but I have it. What are your thoughts on using the track barbell? I have mixed feelings on it. Just keep in mind it's way, 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 way easier than a normal deadlift. So I want you to not go pull with that trap bar and think that that's going to be equal to anything close to a conventional. Like dudes will go pull 5 reps with 405 on a trap bar and think they can deadlift 405, and then they can't. They can't pull it off the floor. I've seen guys get up to about 200 pounds extra. Literally. I've seen guys who only deadlift 500 pull 700 on the trap bar. Gym equipment to buy. Start with a good rack and a good barbell. Don't skip on the barbell. Let me say that again. Do not skimp on the barbell. If you pull 405 conventional, you can probably pull 600. I don't know 600 on the trap 405, but I'd say over 5, absolutely. Probably 550, not unreasonable. All right. I'm not telling you not to use the trap bar. Just be aware you should be able to move substantially more weight on it, as a general rule, which also creates, how do I put it, its own recovery issues because you're forced to use a heavier weight to get the same muscle intensity. Why the barbell is so important. A poor barbell is going to affect all your training. It's going to break easier. It's going to wear out easier. You're going to have grip problems with it, stability issues. Put money in a good barbell up front. It's a better leverage. It's way easier to pull off the floor due to the center of gravity and then even the handle position sometimes. So then you're able to use a heavier weight, which then means your spine gets loaded with a much heavier weight for the same muscle, right? Yeah. Yeah, if you're going to cut money anywhere, cut money on plates. You can get cheaper plates. Do you think all novice intermediate should use Jace hooks? I know there are safe methods without them, but yeah. Spend a little more. Consider up to 3 for the barbell. Deadlifts kill my lower back. Well, why? Get your lower back stronger. Fix your technique. What's wrong with your form? Sounds like a. Oh man, I meant to post at least a meme in the rotation while I was in here. Let me do that. Hold on, let me get one in and then we'll get back. I forgot. I've been too long without posting a meme multi-group post. That's not how we operate. That's bad. Gotta fix that. Then I'll get back to y'all. Gotta get them dank beams and melt steel beams. Yeah, it sounds like you need a consultation. Sounds like I agree. Good afternoon, Jason. What's up, Ryan? Coach can fix your deadlift form. Absolutely. I saw someone use a trap bar to do shoulder presses. To me, that's wild. I've seen people do it too, but man, that's just wild. There we go. Ted Lincoln. Ted just did a meet yesterday, by the way. His first powerlifting meet, we went way under because he's like, I just want to get used to it to get the nerves out of the way, and I want 9 out of 9. So everything he hit was, even his third attempts, was lower than his gym maxes. But he got 9 out of 9, took second place at his first powerlifting meet. And then we're going to build up for his next one. He's like, I just want to do one. He made me no warning. He gave me 10 days to prep him. And he's like, I don't care about the numbers. I just want to go 9 out of 9 to build my confidence and get used to the platform, which is a valid approach. So like everything he hit was at least 5% under his gym lifts. But he didn't get red lighted. So that was the idea. That's a good strategy. What belt you have? I have an injured. I have multiple belts. You just don't realize it because they all look the same color. They're all injured forever. 13 millimeter. When I tried cheating for an even better leverage with a trap bar by pulling sumo, is that possible? No, no. It's not going to work. It's not even, the laws of physics are not going to allow that. You're going to have to violate the laws of physics. I mean, steel can pass through bone and muscle. That's not the problem. It's that you want them to remain intact. So you can't pull the bar through your legs, through your shins physically and your knees, and keep them. That's it, they're gone. Now you could do it, I guess, if you put some sharp enough blades on the bar to get through and get enough force to slice through. But, it's going to be a problem. How do you have a good belt? You can go look at the company and see how well they're made in their reviews. I don't know. I don't mess with anything. Ultra wide legs. No, I wouldn't. That's not going to help your leverages. Not on that bar. No. Harry, I don't think you understand basic physics. That's okay. 10 to 13 is better, but 10 has an easier learning curve. It takes getting used to a 13 millimeter belt. If you've never used one, takes a little bit. You got to break it in. If you don't know what I mean, you will the first time you put one on. And be like, oh my God, this thing is cutting and pinching me. It hurts. Damn, I got whelps all over my body. 13, you sleep in it a couple of times. Like put it on, even if you need to put it on over a t-shirt, put a shirt on, put it on you and go sleep for at least some naps. Sleep in it at least 6 to 8 hours before you try to train in it. Best speed work percentages in your opinion, 50%. Muscle set for a short guy. Harry Harpin, hi coach, what's up? Black Harpy. I think we are about to wind this down now. We didn't get supers, but it doesn't matter, man. Because at this point, YouTube is a labor of love. I just keep it flowing to keep it flowing. Like, let me be honest, YouTube's not even that big of a deal for me on my income. But it's a labor of love, man. I can't see myself not doing YouTube. It's just, dude, I'd still vlog if I had $1 million sitting in the bank. I would probably still do my training vlogs. Like seriously, even if I quit coaching and had a couple of million, I'd probably still vlog for you guys. I just don't know how not to. It's just part of my day. I can't even conceptualize not doing it. For people who only eat meat, an Indonesian tribe inspired practice. Right? All right, guys, but I do think it's time to wind this down. Let's get back to some other stuff. I'll give you guys a bicep shot before we go. Your first message, yes, interesting. Oh, Mount Bicephalus. Yeah, it might be what got you, Luke. In the Facebook. All right, and we're out.